to, who are these guys? Read write. Let's go to my friends. Auditory learners. Your first step, right, is to convert your written notes. Convert your written notes. Remember, you are auditory learners. You learn by hearing. That's your sweet spot. All right, is to convert your written notes into audio and listen to them actively and passively. So all of those notes you have, especially those ones that are most troubling to you, that you find too complex, do you know what you need to do? And as I'm talking about these guys now, somebody might be figuring this out. You might pick it up. What you need to do is to convert those courses or those topics in those courses, convert them from written text to audio. How can you do this? Thank God for AI. Thank God for ChatGPT, and thank God for other AI platforms you can use. Take a picture of it, upload it, and I'm sure you're likely going to get a clip from it. Guys, are we together? That's your first step. Are we together? Did you get that? Yes, you got it right? Convert written notes into... All right. Then now the read write guys. Because you're read write learners, right? You're most likely... Sorry, you're just coming in, eh? Don't just stay where you are. You find us. Because you are a read write learner, you're most likely going to learn new information and process them by either reading or writing. In that case, this is what you need to do. I thought about listening to the voice note passively and actively. Nobody asked what that meant. You can listen to the notes actively while you're looking at the written text. You are listening to it and you're actively listening, right? You can also listen passively. You might be doing something else, but you're listening. Because it's your most strongest, tendency for learning. Even while you're doing something else, that voice you're hearing and whatever the person is explaining, it stays glued to your memory. So whatever you might be doing, that you're actively doing, and you're passively listening to something else, that information you're hearing will still stay locking. All right, so back to you guys. Now, because you're read-write learners, what do you need to do? Form your notes using your course outline. You don't need to wait for your lecturer because, this is your tendency. This is your sweet spot. And when you catch the sweet spot, you want to lick it like ice cream. So get your course outline specifically for courses you don't understand, and perhaps for all of those courses, look at the outline and form your note. Because if you form that note and you come back to that written note, you form the note, you wrote it using your hand. When it's time to read that note, it becomes so easy to understand your own written note, not the lecturer's written note. And even when you are done with classes, you can go back and expand whatever your lecturer has given you, write it and read it. You lock in understanding. Kinesthetic. Oh my guy. So what do you do if you're a kinesthetic learner? The first thing you do is frequent the internet for additional information about your course, right? Because you learn by doing, and hence you learn by doing. All of the things that were said or explained in your, your individual class on your individual courses might not make so much sense for you to practicalize. But when you research more information on the internet, you're likely to find areas of that course or that topic you need to practicalize. Are we together? So frequent the internet and get the material. Guys, are we all getting it? Are we all getting it? Is this a boring process for you all? Thank you. So back to the visual learners, your second point. You have something similar from these guys. So convert your written notes or textbook to visuals. Theirs is to convert it to audios. You are converting your written notes or your textbook or concepts that you don't readily understand. You are converting them to visuals. You are converting them to charts. You are converting them to graphics. You are converting them to pictures. How can you do this? AI can help you. Take a picture of the concept, take a picture of the idea, take a picture of the subject area, upload it on AI, and tell AI to make it visual for you, all right? Or make it visually illustrative for you. If you do that, when you look at that thing, because you are a visual learner, you're not likely to forget it. Guys, are we together? You've gotten that, eh? Back to my guys. So number 2, because you are auditory learners, I so much love what I'm doing now because I'm not sure you guys have had the time to go through this rigorous process. This is correcting the foundation, all right? Because you're an auditory learner, whenever you find yourself in lecture, please ensure you use your phone to record. Are we understanding what I'm saying? Sit in a spot or in a position where you are closest to the lecturer Don't give anybody your phone and say, take, help me record. You might not see the phone again. That's what I'm saying, right? But ensure you're sitting either in front of the lecturer or few seats, right, before the lecturer, right? And turn on your recorder. You don't need to turn on your data, just your recorder. Turn on that very recorder. I tell you, there are certain information you're likely to miss just from this very environment. When I'm explaining, sometimes I become very fast and you can't catch up. But when you are recording, just like what we are doing there, when you are recording and you have the opportunity to go back to that record, those things you missed out while the lecture was going on, you're not likely to miss them when you're playing the record. Do you understand the concept, eh? And it's not enough to record, though. The responsibility lies in playing what you've recorded. So when you record and it's time to save it with the individual course title and perhaps the topic, so you can come back when it's time to study. Pick up that very lecture, especially in areas where you don't understand it. Pick it up, pick up your material, and it makes more sense to you. Guys, are we good? Thank you. Back to my guys, read-write learners. Because you are read-write learners, you need to write out key concepts and ideas from your courses, from any course you intend to understand. Key concepts and ideas. You can agree with me that not every idea you find in that your course is important or equally important. And maybe there are some, while your lecturer was teaching, right, he kept on emphasizing on them. He kept on drumming on them. So you find out one of those concepts or you find out one of those ideas. What do you need to do? You write out those key concepts and ideas. You write it out that you intend to study. Why are you writing it out? You are writing it out so that when it's time to study, as a read-write learner, you know what to study. It's very clear. So you have a 90-page PDF. Not every single information on that 90-page PDF is equally relevant. There are some that are more relevant than others. So you pick them out. When you pick them out and it's time to study this course, you go to those ones you picked out and do your intensive study on them. Are we good? Are we good? Kinesthetic learner. Nobody's joining. Amber, can you join him? No, sorry. I say can you join? You want to join him? But do you have an understanding of what we're doing now? You do? You stay in the lab now. So you practice by doing. So come and stay with him. You have, put your hands together for him. He now has a companion. Come on. This is why I like club. You can never be alone. Even Naftali that is going is not alone. All right. So kinesthetic learner. Because you hope you know you can learn from them, or everybody can learn. And I'll show you how to collaborate all these things together. That's why we talk about expanding your learning preference. You identify, then you expand. Why is Cassandra moving to that side? Are you disconnected from them? Okay. All right. You're alone. So kinesthetic learner, because you learn best by doing and applying. This is the second thing you should pay attention to. After you study, have a discussion group. Are you getting the point? Yeah. Have a discussion group. In that very discussion group now, you have the opportunity to share what you studied. And in the process of discussing what you shared or what you study, you can look out for areas to apply or what to pick out from applying. Or maybe perhaps during your study, right, you did not so cover areas you needed to cover. Maybe pertinent areas you missed out on them. Because you have a discussion group of like minds, right, who are ready to discuss that very topic or that very course. When you meet them and you're sharing your ideas and your knowledge on it, it becomes more clear and areas to apply becomes very easy. Are we good? Are we good? The way Amboy is looking at me, as well. Okay, visual learners, are we back? Are you guys seeing me? Of course, even if nobody sees me, visual learners should see me. Okay, so number 3, make use of flashcards. Do you know flashcards? You know flashcard, right? You can even use carbon, for example. That's your carbon paper. It might be a tedious one, but it will serve you best. You can divide that carbon paper into different pieces, right? Because you are a visual learner, this is what you want to do with those flashcards. You will write small pieces of information or small details, right? You want to recall from that course. So this is a carbon. I can tear this carbon into different pieces, right? And I'm drawing something that reminds me about the concept I have studied. For example, we're studying, let's say, human physiology, right? And you are expected to draw up. Do you guys draw? Yeah. You are expected to draw up something related to the anatomy of a dog or anatomy of anything. If you have a flashcard, not flash drive, flashcard, When you have a flashcard, you can draw the different components of this very dog. And when you put them together, it makes sense to you. You give it to somebody else, they are likely going to be confused. If it becomes so difficult to even do them yourself, prompt ChatGPT. This is why your student. Tell it to give you a flashcard on this social area. And to give you different flashcard, you can print it out, stick it to your wall, look at it every morning. I tell you, you will not forget. Back to you guys, my auditory learners. Have a study group where you can discuss what you've studied from a specific course. You know you enjoy learning by hearing. So when you've done your individual study, you've listened to those tape record and all of that, you need to have, like the kinesthetic guys, you need to have a discussion group where you have to, where you have the opportunity to hear that same thing you've read, but now from different perspective. You know, I said we have differing learning ability. There's something you might have heard, somebody have done more research in it, right? It is in that process of discussion, you get to hear other perspective of what you've read, but you didn't cover. Guys, are we together? I shared with you how I gave my material to Caleb. And after Caleb read that very material, the things I felt I read, Caleb said it in another light, and I was almost going to ask, and I gave him the material. I was almost going to ask, is it the same material I gave you? Different perspective. Are we good? Read right. One more round, then we are good. Read right. Read. Guys. Okay. Read right. Always make use of colored highlighters while you're studying. Very simple. Right? You've written the notes. You've done your studies. You formed the notes from the course outline. While you're studying now, make sure you're making use of highlighters. When you highlight, you are also borrowing a concept from the visual guys. You are seeing how all of this is touching each other, right? You're borrowing a concept from these guys, and it's helping you better understand the things you've written. Are we good? Are we good? Can you start? She left you. Sorry, take the cross. So because you are a kinesthetic learner, you want to teach using that three process we talk about, right? You've learned this thing, you understand it, you've applied. To ensure you have mastery over it, right? You have to teach. And when it's time to teach, you teach using those three processes. Number one, you teach yourself. Then you look for somebody who has a lesser understanding than you do, you teach that person. Then you look for somebody who has a better understanding than you do, then you teach. And I told you what these three things do for you. When you teach yourself, it builds confidence. When you teach others that don't have the same level of understanding, right, you're also building your confidence, right? Then when you look for somebody who understands it better than you are or better than you do, you're likely going to have arguments or debate. It is in the process of arguments and debates that your understanding is heightened or is even amplified. Last one for the visual learners. You're complete for now. Practice the use of mnemonics. Say mnemonics. And I think it's same for everybody. It's same for everybody. Practice the use of mnemonics. Practice the use of mnemonics. What are mnemonics? They are acronyms that shorten what you perhaps have read. A classic example is Mr. Ninja. So you know you can't forget Mr. Ninja D in a hurry. You just know that M is for movement, R is for respiration, N is for nutrition, I is for irritability, G is for growth, E is for excretion, then the last I is for reproduction. I can't remember the last time I read anything around Mr. Ninja D. I'm sure it's been over 13 years, but Mr. Ninja D have not left my head. Mnemonics in practice. Mnemonics in practice. And everybody can make use of this. So you're studying something, right? Even we as a club, aren't we using mnemonics? We've shortened it now. Little life in the university. So you can shorten whatever you study. If you want to enjoy it, ensure you make it interesting. And you don't have to do this by yourself. Again, you can use your AI. You're trying to study a concept. Like, for example, I saw something. If I can check my phone, I would have showed you. Something like mnemonics, MNE. Right? MNE. You don't need to pronounce the M, just mnemonics. Right? I saw something on the internet and it made sense to me. And I was able to get a mnemonic out of it. Right? So if you're studying something, and especially when it has to do with lists, list out the following features, list out the following attributes, list out the following importance. If you don't want to forget, find a way to have an acronym from that very content. If you do, learning becomes simplified. Guys, somebody catching quick understanding here? Is somebody catching quick understanding? I can assure you, among the other exams you've written so far, all right, or the previous semesters you've written so far, this semester will be the best. Yes, you can say amen. It will be the best. Why? Now you're building with good foundation. Building with good foundation. This is why, if with all these things you know, when it's time to study, studying can never be boring. It becomes interesting. So let me wrap up. I know I've exhausted my time. My God. Whew. Let me try to wrap up. For that question that said, what if I have a touch of this and a touch of that? It's even possible to have a touch of the four. It's very possible, right? And if you find out that you have the touch of the four, I don't want you to be confused. Stay straight like this or sit like this, right? You don't need to be confused. I want to give you a golden rule for learning preference. Don't ever forget this rule. I've had the amazing opportunity to prescribe this very rule to educators, to teachers, people within the educational sector. And whenever I'm able to articulate this rule, you say, it makes sense. This thing you're saying makes sense. So this is the golden rule for learning preference, and it can help you for quick understanding. Now that we have different types of preference, different type of learning preference, the golden rule is this: whenever you want to study, before you even switch into your sweet spot, as it may be, right, or as it may sound, or even appeal to you, before you switch into your sweet spot, the golden rule will always say, let the content decide how you learn it. Is somebody understand what I'm saying? Let the content decide how best you should learn it. In other words, you have the content, which might be your course material or your textbook. If you look at that textbook and you find out that this thing is visual, you should let the visual guide help you in understanding it. And this is how you expand your preferences. In other words, you don't have to stay caged and say, me, I'm an auditory learner. If it's not by audio, I cannot learn. No, you expand it. You look at the material. If this material, the best way to understand this material is through the use of sound, all right, or you need to hear somebody say it, or you need to hear somebody explain it, you should know that the best way to study that material is to use auditory method. If for any reason you're going through it and that very content looks, ambiguous, and you're unable to break it up, even with visual aids or even with hearing, you might have to apply the read-write method. Just ask yourself, and this might be a little bit taxing, but it should be taxing because you want to achieve quick understanding, right? So you look at it, look at the content so well, then let the content decide how best you should read it. And if it comes to content that you need to apply, you need to do, what should be the best method? Kinesthetic method. Guys, are we understanding this? Are we? So whenever you have a material, don't be so quick to use one of your sweet spots. As good as it may be, ask yourself, what is the best way of studying this material? When you do this long enough, you'll be touching the visual guys, you'll be touching the auditory guys, you'll be touching the read-write, and you'll be touching the kinesthetic learner. So quick understanding will now help you expand your learning preference to touch each one of these areas. What a study section this has been. Put your hands together for yourself. I almost didn't believe you could stay this long. Club is coming to an end. I know you have different places to go, but I'm wondering where you're going to if you don't want to have the right understanding to studying your courses. And I can be let me brag on this. Let me brag a little bit. I know you don't know me to brag, but let me brag. Listen, there are not many places you will find this kind of teaching. Name them. No, name them. I'm willing to listen. There are not many places. There might be, but there are not many places you find this information. How? Who has the time to go and do the studies? You know how many? I was telling Ryan, he came to my office that way. I showed him pile up of materials I had to study. You see 4 pages? Because I'm a read-write learner, I had to first write, studying, I'm writing. After finish writing, after studying, I had to type on my computer. I still had to go through it. If you find my bag and you still see another page, after reading this stuff, I say this addition is good. It took me a while to prepare for this series. So I'll be very happy if you Show me that you've mastered this series by number one, applying. Number two, transferring. Number three, show me the result from it. I'll be very proud. Next time, I'll be able to expand quick understanding beyond what you've done. So if you ask me, this is the most valuable use of your time. Most valuable use of your time. Guys, are we together? Okay, so let's take questions. Questions. Touching everything I've talked about. Next week, we're concluding this series, and that might be the last club meeting for this semester. All right. And what I'm going to be sharing next week, my God, I'm going to be sharing on learning difficulties. We're talking about learning difficulties when it started. That's the third core area, learning difficulties. Don't shy away from it. I have a learning difficulty, and I'm working towards it. Some of those learning difficulties might be dyscalculia. Some of you have issues with simple arithmetic calculation. It's not your fault. It might be a disability. It might be a difficulty, and you need to find how to address it. For some other, it might be dyspraxia, dysplexia. Haven't you found people that say spare IS is? You've not found spare IS is, and you're like, you that they ask, you're like, IS is now, IS. So, okay. It's learning difficulty, right? It's learning difficulty. Some of them, the other one might be dysexpressia. You've learned it, but to express yourself is an issue. Learning difficulty. Learning difficulty. Some other is I think it's ADHD, right? So, attention deficit hyperactiveness disorder. In your classes now, you know the most hyperactive person. He's not listening to anything, but he's hyperactive. That the people in your worship places say, "Preacher, sir, ask him, what did they say?" He don't know. But he's active, very active. It's a learning difficulty, and we need to address it. So next week, please don't miss out. Don't miss out. We'll just address that. Take the time to take questions, and we'll be good. But questions, one question. So find a way to ask the question in everybody's mind. Are you?
Sir, you said
okay.
You have at least one sweet spot out of the four, and out of the many sweet, you only have a touch of it. So I don't know if it's the same thing for everybody. What if you are not having the four, but you cannot do without two? Because if you are studying based on one, you study is not complete. In fact, you are not satisfied with yourself. What you do, until you add the other one to it, and you feel like you're done with it.
Did you hear the golden rule I said? Did you remember the golden rule? Remember the golden rule? I say that golden rule, you allow the content decide how best you should study. By doing so, you will not be depriving yourself of other method of studying. So, if you pick out a material and you can tell this will need a combination of different learning preference, you will not stick with your learning preference. Is it your proper? I know it's your sweet spot, but you will not stick with that. Hey, sweet spot. If I can't learn it my sweet spot, I cannot learn it. No, you be doing yourself a disservice. Now that you have this understanding, right? So it's to now look at that material. If it touch on other areas, borrow them and learn them. Then when you come back to materials where is now your sweet spot, that the content is, is domiciled on your sweet spot, you lash on it. Do you get what I'm saying? Do we understand what I'm saying? So as much as you can, let the content decide the method. And this is also true for teachers. I know you are not teachers. This year I'm going to be having a conference called Young Teachers Conference. Right? Is some of these things we want to discuss. Maybe not to this height.
And again, can the length of how, maybe for instance we're preparing for exam now and you want to read. Imagine you've not been reading before and you just want to start reading. Can you determine the kind of reading preference that you want to use?
That's why I started this very series with learning pace. And I say learning pace is the speed at which you acquire new information or process that very information. If you've not been studying and now is exam week, I hope you know, no matter the magic you try, this